新闻办今天举办新闻发布会。党的18大以来，中国的经济社会发展取得辉煌成就，这方面的情况大家很关心。今天我们很高兴请来了国家统计局的局长宁吉喆先生，请他向大家介绍18大以来中国经济社会发展情况，并就大家感兴趣的问题回答提问。现在我们先请宁局长做介绍。宁局长，请。
好，谢谢主持人。各位新闻界的朋友们、同事们，大家上午好。
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
正值党的19大即将胜利召开之际，国务院
National Congress of the Communist Party of China is back to convene soon.
就是我是
So me. Today it's my great honor to here to introduce the great achievements and the progress on economic development since the 18th CPC National Congress. With the changes on the international and domestic stage under the leadership of the Party Central Committee, with Mr. Xi Jinping as its core, we conduct the strong strategies and new concepts will to drive the new normal and to gain the stable progress in economic development. And based on the National State Council's strategies, we achieve new progress and win new achievements and also embarked on the new journey in order to achieve the rejuvenation of Chinese dream and millennium goals. First, economic operates within a proper range, and we start to increase our voice on the international stage. The economic remain in the mid to high speed. From 2013 to 2016, the GDP annual growth maintained at 7.2%. That's after the pricing factors as surpassed the 4% of developed countries' GDP growth. And the amount of growth remained around 4 trillion RMB. For the first half of this year, GDP growth around 6.9% year-on-year, and for the previous 8 quarters, the GDP growth remained around 60.6% to 6.9%. So we achieve our goals of making stable progress and positive achievements, and we also increase more employment. The new job added remain at a high speed, and for this year, the speed around 90 million to 2013 to 2016. Based on our unemployment survey for the big cities, the unemployment rate remained around 3%. And for the survey conducted for September, this number is around 5%. For the 31 big cities, this number remained at 4.8%. This is the lowest we hit since 2012. And this is the pilot survey. The unemployment rate calculation is the same with international countries. The migrant workers keep increasing, and the price remain in a stable range. The CPI increased around 2% annually, and for this year's 8 months, it increased around 1.5%. So overall, for employment rate, CPI,
过去几年是7.2%的，是吧？平均增速
remain stable.
2%。
So for employment rate is around 7%, CPI is 5%.
较高的增长速度。
So we basically
和较低的物价
target a stable progress with a low price increasing.
这在世界
This is the big structure of our economic development. This is not easy task to achieve. So we're making a good job in this regard. The overall strength is keeping improving.
国内生产总值
For 2016, GDP reached
一般公共预算
74 trillion,
接近16万亿元。
and the budget revenue around 16 trillion. And a lot of sectors ranking
里程呢，居世界
on top
第一。
around the world. And
国家
railway
外汇储备
is ranking number 1 around the world. And foreign reserve
美元，今年
by the end of
9月
last year is around 3 trillion US dollars. And by the end of September is around
继续保持世界第一。
3.8 trillion, which is also
2016
the
人均
top
国民
around the world.
总收入 GNI。
GNI,
过去我们通常一个讲 GDP， 一
we
个讲
talk about
GNP
GDP with
这个
GNP,
GDP
but right now we
跟
talk
GNP 的
about
概念，是吧？国民总收入
GNR.
人均GNR 是达到8260
per person
美元。
reach around
在世界上
8,000
位
US
置
dollars.
由2012年的
And
第
the
112
ranking
位
increased
上升
from
到2016年的第93位，
around 200 to 93.
将近20位。国际影响力大幅提升。2016
We
年
keeping increasing our
我国
voice
内
on the
生产
international
总值
stage.
折美元是11.2万亿，
So conducted our
占
GDP
世
to
界经济
US
总量的
dollars.
14.8%，
It's around
稳居世
20
界
trillion
第二。
and ranked number 2
2013年
around the
至
world.
2016
From
年
2013 to
中国
2016,
经济增长对世界经济增长
the
的平均贡献
contribution
力
by China's economic
30%，
growth is around 30%.
超过美国、欧元区和日本。
Surpassing United States, Eurozones, and Japan. It's surpassing the total of these three.
2. 创
And
新驱
second,
动发展战略深入实施，新旧
We're
动能
keeping
加快
moving forward,
科技创新取
oriented
得重
by
大突破。
innovation,
2016年
and we achieve a
研
great
究与试验发展就 R&D 经费支出15677
achievements in
亿
R&D, and the investment in R&D is also
与
remain at a
国
high
内生产总
amount.
值之比
This
2.1，
amount divided by
这也是
GDP is around 2.1,
量子
which
通
is
信
keeping
高速
increasing.
铁路航
A
载人航天
large number
等
of
一批具有标志性意义的
landmark and significant projects
大
are
众创业
emerging.
万众创新蔚然成功。
Mass innovation and entrepreneurship is also on a big rise, which is also touched a great importance by the State Council as well as Premier Li Keqiang.
商事制度改革
We also
效果呢不断地
conducting
显现。
the different rounds
至
of
2016年，全国新登记市
Inno-
场主体
initiatives
超过4400，
and we have more than
其中新登记企业
4,400
1362万户，年均增长30%。
enterprises registered. And this year, from January to August, the new enterprise registered is around
日均
399, and which is
11.7万户。
around
发展迈向中高端水平，
17,000.
在新动能快速成长壮大的同时，传统产业改造步伐
The traditional industry is also keeping upgrading. From 2015 to 2016, the e-commerce increased around 28.6%, much
社会
higher
人数总额增速。
than the overall
快递业务量
products
去
increase.
年
For
达到
the
313亿件，比2012年增长了
courier
4.5倍，
service is also on the big
53.2%。平台经济、
trend
分享
of
经济、
increasing,
共享经济、
and
协同经济
sharing
等新的模式
economy
广泛
and
盛行
other new models are also
线下
emerging,
线上融合、跨境电
and
商、
offline
智
plus
能
online,
交流等新
the
的业态
cross-border
创新内容
e-commerce,
中
all
国
these
制造
new
2025 互
models
联网加
are
等
taking
规划和
shape.
行动有效实施，
For Internet Plus and other big initiatives keep playing a bigger role. For the production upgrading, it increased around 14%. Third, supply side reform keeping receiving new achievements. For the cut overcapacity for steel, coal's capacities also cut around 65 million tons and 29 million tons respectively, surpassed the target we set for last year. And this year, the number for steel have hit the target already, and for coal industry, hit around 85% of this year's target. For realistic inventory, it decreased 3% last year, and this year till August, the number reached around 12%. As for deleveraging, for debt to asset ratio is around 55%. 0.4% lower than last year. By the end of August this year, the debt to equity ratio is another 7% lower. For cutting the cost, COGS around decrease around 0.12 yuan compared to last year. For improving business, we did a lot of jobs in agriculture, protecting ecosystems. It's all on the high-speed trend. For the grain output reached 61 million metric tons. This is a really high number. And this year, we believe the number will be higher, and we will be a good year, a harvest year. For 2016, the tertiary sectors takes up around 51.6%, increasing, and this number for this year till now is 51.4% of all sectors. The added value of tertiary sector increased 7.7% year on year. That's for the service sector. For manufacturing industry, from 2013 to 2016, the high-tech industry reached around 11.3%. And this year till August, the number also keep increasing to 13%. So for the past 4 to 5 years, it's remained around double-digit growth. Consumption also a big driver to drive economic development. The consumption contributes around 55% of GDP growth. It's higher than the capital contribution. This year till now, the number right now is around 33.4%. That's the contribution to overall growth, and also take a larger amount proportion of overall aggregate output. The consumption versus the investment is making a good momentum. And domestic consumption also a big pillar of economic development. In the past 4 years, the average domestic consumption plus domestic investment, these two together is higher than 100%. This year, the number right now is 96%.
在经济总量中，是吧？在经济增长、
Economic output, economic contribution, domestic consumption is a big driver and contributor. By the end of 2016, the permanent residence in urban area is around 4.78% higher than 2012, which means 1% increase per year. That 1% actually represents a very, very big number in China. We keeping narrow the difference between the narrow and rural areas. The rural area, the rural weight, which compared to the urban areas, we're keeping narrow the salary gap. And this year, the number we're keeping narrow it. For the eastern to central to north east areas. Right now, we can see for the northeast regions that develop faster than coastal cities. In the past 4 years, the gap between 4.8 versus 1, right now the number lowered to 2.8 versus 1. We keep increasing energy savings and environmental protection initiative. The energy consumption per unit of GDP in terms of water conservancy decreased. For 2016, nuclear installed capacity is also increased around 1.7 times compared to 2012. Wind power generated increased 1.4 times, and power generated by solar power also increased by 1.4 times. In the previous 4 years, solar power, wind power are increasing in a significant amount. 2015, the emission of nitrogen dioxide and sulfur oxide keep it decrease. All of these actually we set a very clear target in the 5 years plan. Last year in 338 environmental monitoring sets, as we receive a very good result, and PM 2.5 also decreased in these 338 areas. Environmental protection is also received new progress, and we also have more areas of forest increase around 7.8% compared to last year. By the end of 2016, the clean retreatment of waste also increasing. We keep open our door to the international world for exports. So increase not just in quantity, also in quality. For 2015, our exports takes up around 11% of global exports. For the service sectors, the exports are around 60.7 trillion US dollars and rank number 2. For imports and exports, for China always ranks number 1 or number 2. Bilateral investment also keep increasing. The FDI reached around 4.8 trillion, increased by 3.1%. Non-financial investments to externals have increased around 21.6%. We're keeping finding new areas. We keep investing in the Belt and Road Initiative countries, and the number increased by the end of 2016, we conducted more cooperations with countries on the route. The number of investment accumulated around 50 trillion. We keep increasing people's well-being, and people's life quality keep increasing. For 2016, the disposable income around 20,000, and that increase around 7.4%. The GDP increase around 7.2%, and the capita per unit of GDP increase 8.4%. That's higher than GDP growth. But the first half of this year, the number increased to 7.3%, higher than GDP growth. We keep upgrading consumption. For the consumption in food, around 30.1%, 2.9% lower. So we're always use these indicators to level the consumption upgrading. And we also have 55 million rural peoples moving to the urban areas, and the number decreased by 5.7%. We also keep improving our social welfare systems. People's with insurance increasing in the big numbers.
That was a briefing by the State Council Information Office on the achievements of the Chinese economy in the past 5 years. Now, to break down some of these numbers for us and to talk a bit more about the development of the economy, we're joined in the studio by Andy Mok, who's the Managing Director of Red Pagoda Resources. Thank you so much for joining us, Andy. Now, we've had a whole raft of statistics there that we just heard. Now, just pick out a few areas for us that you think are the most prominent achievements that China's made in the last 5 years.
Well, I think there certainly were a lot of statistics shared, as we just heard, and in every front, I think China's made remarkable progress over the last 5 years. But if we step back for a second, I see two especially noteworthy developments. So I think the first is that under the leadership of Xi Jinping, he has strengthened both the party and the government, both ideologically as well as operationally. And why is this so important from an economic development perspective? Because without political and social stability, sustainable economic prosperity just isn't possible. So I think that's easy to miss when we hear all of these very impressive growth figures. I think the second important achievement that we'll look back on and see as truly remarkable is this Made in China 2025 initiative. So it's not just an initiative to upgrade Chinese industrial capacity across a number of important new technologies and industries, but we can see too that it's actually now having global impact. An example of that is China's call to ban internal combustion engines in automobiles. And now it's not just auto manufacturers in China, but all around the world, whether in Germany, in Japan, in the United States, now also dramatically reconfiguring their strategies to adapt to these changes.
Now let's go back to the point that you made